Wargaming is a great hobby, but sometimes when you're painting, it can get kind of lonely. So, we have the community to look to. And thus, I would like to present the Wargame Frog's first ever community spotlight, where you can show off your miniatures to the wider community. There was a bunch of people who submitted to this community spotlight, and in my eyes, you are all wonderful and beautiful people. So first, let's lay out the ground rules. Any miniature that they were proud of could be submitted, and there was no limits to how many they could submit. I think that's pretty much it. There weren't many rules, but without further ado, let go. Our submission was by Hugo, and Hugo said, "Isn't anything special, and it's missing the hourglass, but I feel like on the table it still reads as the Justiciar." Hugo used a very captivating color scheme with gray, purple, and red as its base. I especially love what they did with the sword here, letting the dark and purple shine. Other than that, the gold is subtle in a good way, not distracting from any of the other colors that are beautifully executed on this model. But what I love most about this piece is the base. It's so hard to do snow bases, and I think they pulled it off very well. They also submitted a squad of jump pack marines, still utilizing that same color scheme that was on the Justiciar. And to be honest, I really want to see what the full army looks like. This color scheme definitely speaks to me. It feels gritty and real, and I love it. The red being the real source of color, while the grays, tans, and golds bring the realism to the pieces. And I can't get over those bases. Great work, Hugo. On to the next one. The next few submissions is from a talented artist called North Lock, and they said, "Hello, my name is North Lock. I'm an aspiring commission modeler, and now that I've graduated college, I'm hoping to get back into making YouTube videos. Here are some of my projects. My two favorite projects have been the Primarch brothers. The Lionel Johnson model was converted to have a magnetic shield and a power fist. On the power fist is the insignia of Finland, where I have some family lineage. G-Man was actually bought during a trip to Finland, so both models have a bit of personal love. Both also have magnetized wood-stained bases to give them some flair. And here are the two brothers in all their grim dark and converted glory. I think what Lock and Key did here was great, and they definitely solidified the idea that you don't need to have a muted palette in order to create something that looks grim dark. Let's first look at the Lion. And I might be biased here because the Lion is my favorite Loyalist Primarch, but this model is beautiful. Every element comes together, and it looks vivid despite having so much black on it. My favorite part is probably the sword, amplifying a radiance of color, and with the grimdark style, it's only amplified that much more. Next, Lock and Key also provided us with some eye candy in the form of the big blue man himself. I love how realistic and thought out every piece of this model looks. And just like with the Lion, the highlight for me is the sword. But the gold looks so vivid despite the muted background. You feel the presence of the demigods within these two pieces. More than the stunning paint jobs, Lock and Key also provided us with some work in progress photos, giving us the idea of how much was actually converted here. The green stuff work here is impeccable and only amplified in future pieces that we will look at by Lock and Key. And even though I'm a heretic and a Zenos lover, these models definitely make me want to switch sides. These are two beautiful pieces of art. But we're not done there. Lock and Key also provided us with more goodies to look at. The next one is a commission statue I did for a local game store with the release of the Darktide video game action figure. It's meant to be a store-branded Zeech worshiper, considering that they're a game store and Zeech loves his games. I found it fitting and put some references across his person to reference the love of games and hobbies. D20 shoulder, paint-stained cloth over his pants, dice trinket on his gun, and game mat with dice on the ground. As for the base, locust wood I took from home, stained and clear coated. Overall, beautiful work, but we're not done with North Lock. Another fun project I had was a Legion of the Damned librarian where I scratch sculpted a demon out of green stuff and wire with plastic that cut into weapons. I can see the creativity and the pure genius throughout all of these pieces. And Lock and Key definitely has a passion for the miniatures that they create. And it shows between the sculpting, the bases, and the painting that they do. Next, they wanted to showcase Cypher and some Dark Angel successors, known as the Heartless 13. Both the squad and Cypher himself look gorgeous, and I would love to face them off against one of my armies, especially my Tyranids. The green looks like candy, and I'm pretty sure they would taste like it too. But all jokes aside, I love your work, and thank you for sharing. Submission is from a relatively new hobbyist called Brandon, and they wanted to show you their Chaos Knight and Orc that they painted for their brother. This knight is my very first model, and even 6 months into this, he's still being changed all the time. My brother got me into it, and I did one of his orcs up to look like he hangs out in the endless battle here and there, lol. Let's first look at this orc. And I know you said you've only been doing this for about 6 months, but this is pretty good. You got solid colors and a decent color scheme. Now on to the knight. This makes me want to scream blood for the blood god. I love it. Keep growing and enjoy this hobby. Next we have Owen, and they said, this is the chaplain in Terminator armor named Titus that I painted around a month ago. He is my best painted miniature so far, and I love him. I was inspired by some codex artwork for the iconography around his head. And now my Imperial Fist brothers shall be inspired with righteous zeal. Oh yeah, if I saw this and I was an Imperial Fist, I would be inspired. I love how he looks, and especially how you did the yellow. A hard color to master, and I think you pulled it off very well here. Great work. Next, we have Sid with the World Eaters Combat Patrol. I'm loving the hints of silver here. Most World Eaters are painted in that typical brass and red color scheme, but this is something different and unique. And on the demon prints with the black skin and that color scheme, it works so well. Hey Wargame Frog, I'm here to show you Blood Angels First Company, my personal Blood Angels army. It's not finished yet, but it's starting to look like an actual unit. The man in front is Brother Captain Titus leading the company. Then, beside him are 2 lieutenants, each leading their own platoon. The man behind them is the first captain, who I haven't come up with a name for yet. He died an honorable death fighting Necron for hundreds of years, and will continue to serve as a statue. What I think makes this hobby so great is coming up with your own lore and ideas for your own army. The creative spirit is what I live for, and you have that with your lore. And I can't wait to see your Blood Angels done. Keep at it. Now, let's look at something really chaotic by this painter who wishes to stay anonymous. And they said, this is my Death Guard Rhino that I did a bunch of sculpting on with green stuff. The dude with noodly arms on top is Mortimer Jr., who is a demon-possessed Havoc launcher, entrusted to the pilot of this Rhino, named Mortimer. With this piece, I experimented for the first time with sculpting, battle damage, sponging, OSL, magnetizing, and actual glowing effects, using glow-in-the-dark resin. As well as it being my first vehicle I ever made, it still stands as my proudest piece. I have to say, this is gross and creepy, but in all the best ways. And I love the color choice for the tentacles. I can almost see the purple limbs mushing and frothing around. As for the OSL and glow effects, I had to be convinced that it wasn't just photoshopped. Overall, this piece is gorgeous. Very well done. Next, Rumen showcased a lot of different models from many different factions, saying, my first, a Death Guard, my main army. Thousand Suns Rubik Marine. My smallest, Brimstone Horror. My favorite, Cetan, Shard of the Void Dragon. My best painted, though now it looks lazy to me, Locust Heavy Destroyer. They also wanted to showcase their recently converted, corrupted Canoness. And I just have to say, I love the variety and creativity that you brought here. Keep up the hobbying. Sometimes designing a miniature doesn't involve a paintbrush. Sometimes you just want to use Hero Forge and think of your own lore. And that's exactly what this person did. This is Andy's creation, using Hero Forge. And they said, meet Silence, voice of Cerberus, my level 35 D&D 3.5 High Priestess of the Raven Queen. From a mute, starving orphan on the street to the most powerful voice on her home planet. Silence and her party Cerberus have conquered insurmountable odds against Illuminati wizard cults, fallen angels, and black dragons. And her story really began with her untimely death. It really is a great honor to share her with more people. And here is Silence. I love the story that you had created for her. You really have a love for the lore that you have created for her, and I can only imagine the strength that she carries. Also, great color scheme. Space Marines are everywhere, but one of the most famous is Lieutenant Titus, and Patrick did him justice, saying, "Here is my Lieutenant Titus. I didn't like the base he came with, so I built it up with some cork and a skull. And I have to say, you did Lieutenant Titus justice. I feel like he's actually running at me, and that's awesome. And once again, I want to throw down my bugs against him. But it looks like you already painted an enemy for him to face. I've attached my latest mini. It's the Obsessionist from my Emperor's Children Tormentors box." Patrick also wanted to showcase this model from the Emperor's Children. And I have to say, you know how to make my little chaotic heart jump up and down for joy. You know, you wouldn't think about it, but pink is a hard color to master. Especially solid pink. Something you really only learn if you want to paint an Emperor's Children army. Nice. You know, we've had a lot of Games Workshop submissions, so let's change that up with James's submission. And they said, "This is a Gwent Scattergunner from the Gwar's War. This mini is freaking adorable. I kind of feel bad for him going to war, but it definitely makes me want to pick up some minis. Nice and solid." Alright, we are all human, so we all have favorites. And I can't help but gush at this next submission from George. Some beautifully painted Leviathan Tyranids. You can't go wrong with these beasties. But George did them so well. I mean, look at this leaper. He is freaking gorgeous. Just looking at these models makes me smile. Great work. Next, we have a submission from Winfield248. And I'm going to let their words and miniatures do the talking here. These are a standalone salamander with magnetized head I made just for fun. And a Kit Bash Grey Knight brother captain I play in my army. I just finished a short with a salamander, and I'm currently working on a long form video putting together and painting the Grey Knight on my channel. Literally, holy crap, this model is beautiful. Grey Knights are one of my favorite Space Marine chapters. And this is a solid paint job. Clean and crisp. It looks like it belongs in a white dwarf. But with that little extra wet blending on the sword, it brings it to almost perfection. Great use of brush control, and you know what you're doing. Next, we have a salamander. My actual favorite chapter. And I feel like I'm burning myself on that sword just looking at it. Everything from the skin to the purity seals to the holsters and the bolter. It is very well executed. If I was to throw down against a force that looked like this, I would stop and take pictures every 2 minutes. And the fact that he's magnetized is that much better. You truly have a love for the craft. Great job. From a salamander to salamanders, Maake sent in these. A squad of beautiful salamanders. And can I just say, you did a very good work with photography here. The miniatures themselves are dynamic as well, and I feel like they know that I love Zenos. Might get a little burned. I also love what you did with the cape on this guy here. I think it's sanding paper, but I don't know. Either way, very creative, and I love the squad. You know it was here. Someone had to be last, and that person is Sal. And they said, "Jump Pack Canoness Vampire Kit Bash for a vampire-themed sororitas army. Love your channel, dude. Much love and peace." I didn't know I wanted vampire sisters in my life until now. This gives grim, dark, and gothic a whole new vibe. Way too cool. And thank you for the kind words. More than that, thank you to everyone who submitted to the community spotlight, and thank you all for watching. Before I go, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join my Patreon if you like videos like this. Stay tuned for daily shorts. And with this said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and much love and peace.